Fire away, Jess.
So basically, I've got some money,
Mm-hmm.
and then after speaking to a financial advisor, like my total would be about 225.
Yeah.
So down south, it's not really going to go very far.
Mm-hmm.
So then looking up north, obviously I don't know anywhere up north. So how would I even start the process of finding where to buy
Okay.
for letting?
I think the first advice I always give people is know what you're buying. So it doesn't have to be necessarily know the exact property on the exact road in the exact town or whatever else, but having a grasp on location is very important. So if you imagine if you bought in SW12, so around Clapham South, for example, there's a big difference on the uplift in property prices between Clapham South and Tooting, 2 stops down. If you look year on year, for the past 3 or 4 years, Tooting's had more of an uplift than Clapham South. So it's important to know where you're buying, what's happening in that area. Is there infrastructure changes? If I was personally going to invest in a property, it was going to be a long-term purchase, I'd be looking for somewhere where there's infrastructure changes. So if you imagine when Crossrail went in, wherever these new stations popped up, house prices jumped up because it meant that access to London was going to be so much quicker and just in general it'd be a more desirable area because things are changing in there. Look at what happened in Croydon. As soon as they announced that Westfield Shopping Centre was coming in and Boris Johnson secured, I think it was £1 billion worth of investment, something like that, along those lines, the property prices just shot up. I've got friends in Croydon that happened.
Stable though, like will they stay up or will they come back down again like once people have kind of got over the hype of
There we are.
build?
There's always a bubble. So it happened in Nine Elms. As soon as they announced that the Battersea Power Station was going to be developed, 2 new tube lines were going to come in, prices around there just went crazy. Absolutely insane. They went from being what you could buy a riverfront 2-bedroom apartment with a balcony for £600,000 to being worth over £1 million.
Okay.
But then it came down again. Once the hype was outlived, prices did come down. But if you look at what they were before and what they were when it's finished, exactly the same as one with Bitcoin when everyone got really excited about it 3 years ago. Oh, you got excited. Yeah. Everyone, that always happens. It goes up and then it calms down and once the hype's dead. So I would be interested in you looking at why you're buying in those areas, what you want from them, what's happening in those areas before committing to an area or a purchase.
So again, because this would be my second property technically, how does the stamp duty work?
Well, stamp duty is always changing. It's changed again this year, changed 3 years ago, and then a couple of times in the previous years before that. Right now, if you're buying a property and you already own another property, then you have to pay 3% stamp duty in the price range that you're talking about.
On top of what you would normally pay an extra fee?
Yeah, I mean, there's no stamp duty below 500,000, generally speaking, at the moment. But you do have the 3% extra stamp duty regardless of that. So you're going to pay 3%. Unless you buy the property, you'd have to pay it regardless, but if you sell the property that you already own within 3 years of the new purchase, then you can get the 3% stamp duty refunded back. Because it's just seen as a transitional purchase, I guess, is the way to see it.
So when it comes to the mortgage, is it better to pay interest only and then take home more money a month or pay repayment plus interest?
So that's a strategic question. So it really comes down to what you would prefer to have happen. Usually, if you're buying a property that you're wanting to live in and you've got a regular job and you just want to pay it off, say within 25, 30 years, by the time you get to 60, you want to know that your mortgage is paid off, then I'd say pay down your mortgage, do repayments, maybe even you get a bonus or something like that, maybe you want to pay another chunk off your mortgage, because that money that you've put into your property, you're also not paying interest on anymore. The mortgage lender will have guidelines as to how much you can pay off in a year, because obviously they're expecting a certain amount of interest to be paid back to them, otherwise they don't make money. So you have to look at those guidelines. Normally, I would only recommend doing an interest-only mortgage if you're planning on reinvesting the money. Some people rely on the money to come in on a monthly basis, then probably go interest-only because you want to maximise how much money you're getting back. If prices are going up in the area, if you think they're going to go up in the area, people don't worry as much about paying down the mortgage because it becomes less and less as a percentage value of the property. It just depends on your strategy. So your strategy might be, I'm going to pay off the mortgage, I'm going to pay down on the property that I've got, because I want to own it outright, I want it to be comfortable. You may be thinking, well, actually, I'm in a growing phase where I'm looking to invest more and more, so I want more money back that I can put in a pot and then put into the next investment.
That'll be your next deposit.
Exactly, so it comes down to strategy.
So when it actually comes down to finding a property, you've like chosen your location, how do you actually know which is going to be the best buy-to-let investment? Because obviously you can see online like how much you're buying it for, but when you then look at like rental values, like one place might be £600 and this very similar property 2 rows down might be 1,000, just saying. How do you gauge that in an area you don't know?
First of all, I'll be very careful buying an area I don't know. I'll be careful of whose advice I take. Everybody's got different advice. If it was my mum, I would never have bought a property. In my life, she puts the negative spin on absolutely everything. If you talk to the average estate agent, everything's perfect and great and wonderful, and in reality, they've never bought a property in their life. So you're taking advice from a novice that just is there to, shine up at as many rocks as they can find. The main thing is research. The main thing is doing your due diligence, is looking into as many properties as you can. Once you've picked an area and you've said, look, I want to be in this location because I believe they're building a new school in the area and that's going to be a big thing for the area. So I can see property prices rising, families moving into the area, and I want a nice family rental accommodation in that area. Once you've done that, then you can do more research. So you can look at which roads receive which level of rent. So some 2-bedroom properties on a busy road will receive 5% less rent than on the next road over, which is a quieter, more residential street. Looking into things like that, understanding who is in the area, so making sure you're approaching the right demographic is important. Getting people's advice is great. It's always good to have as many different people giving you their side of the story, but what it comes down to is what you actually want to get from it. Never try and fit somebody else's worldview into yours, especially with investments, because I'm not particularly risk adverse. You might be completely risk adverse, so taking my advice might screw with your head. 5 years time, if you've got a risky purchase on your hands, that could really affect you, whereas with me it's just like, just never risk. Oh well.